Look at you now, taking that light and that wisdom and leaving this legacy of love for thousands of people. And
well, thank you.
And you have a real hang around ability.
I like
you know what I mean? Like, I want to go pet your dog. Your mission and your work is so wonderful because I feel like you're pulling back a veil on things that have been so like either ignored or kept hidden and kept secrets within families. Your work talking about this has opened up a lot of discussions even within our home. So I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I just know what it's like to feel a little bit lost and isolated. And when you realize that you're not, that so like you said, you know, everybody's got a story. Everybody's dealing with something. It doesn't matter if you're worth $1 billion and a super celebrity and this, that, and the other thing. You know, we live in a world that is challenging, you know, and we probably always have lived in that world, but now we know about it and we know about everybody else's life. So we have to negotiate those waters differently, and we have to really orchestrate our lives in order to be in balance with all of that.
Right.
It is a passion. It's that I know that there are solutions, and people don't think there are solutions. They think that, you know, the minute you feel as though there's any kind of mental imbalance, it's like a scarlet letter on your chest, you know, then all of a sudden your life can't be normal, or you can't move forward, or you can't grow, or whatever. And I happen to know that there's just a lot of ways that we can take responsibility for our mental health by looking at our story, our genetics, the way we live our lives. You know, so many different elements are involved in creating a balanced and healthy brain. And mental well-being. And it's a daily process, and it's a daily responsibility. For me, that's the key, is sharing that, first of all, there are solutions. Secondly, I've struggled. I've had, you know, all kinds of crazy thoughts in my life. I come from 7 suicides. I've got all this stuff in my family that led me to be a fearful person for many years about kind of addiction and mental health, and like, is it a virus? Can you catch it? Like, you know, like when does it happen? And realize, and the more I have looked in and dove into my own story, the more I realized that we have so much power to change our lives and change the way that our lives are and the way that our brains are. And we're not given that information because it's really within our purview. And I'm not talking about, you know, whether you take pharmaceuticals or not. You know, I'm not talking about getting therapy or not getting therapy. I'm talking about how you live your life and taking responsibility for that.
You speak about taking the time in the morning to sort of set your course, right? And can you share, what is that for you personally?
Morning is such a powerful kind of, it really sets up how your day is going to be. So when I've had a good night's sleep, I wake up early and I do some stretching in bed because we've been sleeping and we put our blood pools. So it's like nice to just move the body just a little bit in kind of this rocking motion. And then I get up. The first thing I do actually before I meditate is I drink water. Bobby and I are big believers that water is just such a profound and important, you know, part of our lives. We need water. And I meditate, I do breathing exercises. You know, I think there's many different forms of meditation, but I think meditation is a really powerful tool for well-being. It can change your life because it kind of takes the focus away from the narcissistic view of ourselves into a place of, when you have more awareness of the world that you live in, you become more compassionate in a way. And when you start to become more compassionate and can focus on others and your surrounding people and area and environment, you find yourself a more happy person, you know, when you can direct outwards instead of always like looking at myself and my problems and this, that, and the other thing. So I meditate, I do breathing exercises. I have a really great friend. Her name is Beat Simkin, and she has this breathing technique that's very profound. And then I write in a journal, not for long, you know. I started writing in a journal years ago. I don't know if you remember the book, The Artist's Way.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, they talked about morning pages. And I've always done morning pages. I wrote in a journal before that, but it became kind of very habitual. So I tend to write 2 to 3 pages every day. And sometimes, like meditation, it's annoying and you think, you kind of
yeah.
Whatever, you know, gosh, I'm saying the same thing that I said yesterday or a week ago or whatever. And then all of a sudden you kind of kick into gear and things start to come out of you. And I think it's powerful. And I also think that because we live in this kind of social media world, it's nice to take pen to paper and just write. And I drink coffee, but I'm a big believer that there are certain people that actually benefit from caffeine, right? But in any choice I make in something I consume, I try to make it organic, sustainable. When it comes to food, consciously and humanely raised, pasture raised. And pasture finish, like if you're going to eat meat, be conscious in the way that you do that. And I think having an ethical and moral kind of compass when it comes to food and eating and water and how you have an effect on the environment that you live in, I think is really important. It's also really important for your brain. Everything that I do always comes back to a balancing of what's going on in your head. It's quite amazing that our lifestyle can have so much effect on our brain. And for so long, we have sort of, as a culture, detached our brain from our body. It's like the body is doing this and the brain is doing that. Yeah. Neither the two shall meet. But the truth is, one can't exist without the other. Right. So a balanced body helps create a balanced brain, and vice versa.
Your morning ritual is like phenomenal. Some mornings I'm lucky that I'm out of bed. For me, though, I have noticed that my fears or my anxieties have lessened just by being awareness of the love in my life. Like that's sort of been where I am feeling responsible.
And what you mentioned, and you briefly touched on it, is incredibly important. And it's something I do in my meditation, is gratitude. Mm-hmm. There's a whole section of however many minutes. That was the dog, not me. Making a lot of sound down there. That when we give thanks to the people in our lives, right? You give thanks to yourself because you're here for the reason that, you made the conscious choice to say, I'm here today and I intend to make this a good day. And by the way, when I say meditation, it doesn't have to be an hour long. It doesn't have to be a half an hour long. Mm-hmm. You can start out with 5 minutes, right? So you don't have to make it like, oh my God, I've got to do all this stuff and, I've got to put in all this time and I've got to turn thoughts off. And none of that happens, by the way. We're human beings. We can't turn thoughts off. Okay, this dog is out of control. Like stretching. He's all
how cute though. There he is.
Oh, there he is. Anyway, So giving yourself kind of a break and just saying, look, if I've only got 5 minutes, I've got 5 minutes. And if my brain just won't let go, my brain won't let go. It's okay. It's not a contest or a race. It's just about taking the time to be still. So, meditation's powerful. It has a cumulative effect. And even when you start out day 1, by day 10, you see tremendous strides. And there's a lot of actually really good apps out there that are helpful for meditation. And they're easy. Like they show you and they talk to you and they guide you. And being guided sometimes when you're starting out is helpful, right? Because sitting there in an empty room by yourself, going, holy shit, what do I do now? And oh no, sometimes it can be overwhelming, and it shouldn't be, because it is your time to get quiet. It's to quiet the mind and to observe the mind when it jumps around. We call it kind of in yoga talk, we sort of call it the monkey mind, the brain that just can't stop, moving around. And having gratitude is really helpful.
Yeah.
So you need to allow thoughts to come and just allow them to kind of just fade away, fade into the background. Just, they're going to come. But you don't need to go on a ride with them, right? You can just go back to breathing and thinking about breath, or go back to being thankful to the ones that you love in your life, or go back to focusing love towards those people, or focusing love towards yourself, or even focusing love towards the inner child, the child in you that probably didn't feel loved at certain points in their childhood. Not everybody. Some people had gloriously loving childhoods, and some people didn't feel that or felt abandoned. So sometimes tuning into gratitude towards oneself is really powerful, even for just a minute. So it's those little tools that can really help a person in a morning practice.
You have such a beauty inside you.
You do, Mariel.
Aww.
Dude.
Yes, it just seems like, you can hang around with you.
It's a lovely compliment, because I am so normal. I'm so insanely normal. It's like sad.
Well, we appreciate you so much. Thank you very much for this time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What a beautiful conversation. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye, Mariel.